Welcome back, good people, to the station Destination Devi, powered by FTN Fantasy. I'm the host of this thing that we do over here, Ray G. You can find me on Twitter at RayGQ. If this is your first time on the channel, checking out the content, first and foremost, I appreciate you coming by, giving it a listen, giving it a look. Hope you enjoy it. I'm pretty sure you will. And if you do, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button and like the content. Comment below, engage with me, engage with other like-minded individuals. This is fun stuff that we do here. Fantasy should be fun. But make sure you subscribe so every time a new video drops, you'll get the alert on your phone. You can check out the content. You ain't got to search for it and dig through all the other shit that's out there. You're getting actionable, entertaining content over here. And make sure you check out ftnfantasy.com. I'm telling you, man, they got all kinds of good shit cooking up over there. Fantasy golf, baseball is back, NBA is back, the NFL is right around the corner. College, I don't know about college. I mean, sports are back, and we've got you covered at FTN Fantasy. Betting, what you need in order to dominate your fantasy leagues, all kinds of good stuff cooking up over there, so make sure you check it out. And when you do, use the promo code ALLGAS so you can save a little bit of money at the checkout. But today, I'm excited because we are going to talk about 5 players who should be breakout candidates for this 2020 season, whether that's redraft, dynasty, all of that stuff. Pay attention to what I said. I did not say breakout stars. I did not say that these players were going to be absolute stars this year, but they are players who could break out to be consistent fantasy scorers for your roster during this 2020 season, and who knows what that long-term potential looks like. But there are 5 players that I'm actively targeting. I'm not just saying this shit and then not actually implementing the things that I'm saying. I'm actively targeting. I believe will have a role. They have situations where the opportunity is there, where the target volume is there, where the opportunity to succeed out of the backfield presents itself. And if these players can seize a hold of the opportunity that they have, you could strike some late round gold in your fantasy leagues, in your startup drafts or in redrafts. There's definitely some potential for some of these players to hit and do quite well for your fantasy rosters. There are only top 12 positional players, so in order to win, you've got to fill out the rest of your roster. You need those wide receiver 2s and wide receiver 3s and wide receiver 4s and running back 2s and 3s, because at the end of the season, I mean, it's the war of attrition. People are going to get hurt. Players are going to get hurt. Players are going to bust. Players are going to underperform. Players are going to lose their jobs. Whatever the case may be, and in this year in particular, with the uncertainties of COVID and how that's going to play a hand on actual NFL teams, and what happens if a player tests positive in week 13 and they got to sit out 3 weeks. I mean, that's your fantasy playoffs. So having backups, having these kind of high-end upside, players that cost you very little in startup drafts is critical. It's absolutely critical. And these 5 players are players who I truly believe are going to help us score points. And I'm ready to dive into it after we hear from my man, Gus Johnson. Talk to him, Gus.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
The first player I want to dive into is one of the more polarizing players that we've talked about on fantasy Twitter over the past couple of months, and that is Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Ronald Jones. Yes, Ronald Jones is a player that I am pegging for a third-year breakout here in the upcoming 2020 season. When you think about Ronald Jones and what he's done so far up to this point in his NFL career, his rookie season, he was a part of that 2018 class, which featured Saquon Barkley, Kerryon Johnson, Nick Chubb, tons of running back talent. And then Ronald Jones, for some people, Darius Guice, forgot about Darius Guice. For some people, Ronald Jones was the second or third running back after Saquon Barkley. So to see him only get 44 rushing yards in 7 receptions in his rookie season, that taste has not left the mouths of a lot of people. But we've got to remove ourselves from that bias, because in 2019, he did take a step forward with over 700 rushing yards on the ground and over 300 yards through the air for a player that was not thought of as a pass-catching weapon. He really wasn't that at USC in his collegiate career. What he was a fantastic running back. As a true freshman, he almost eclipsed 1,000 yards rushing, hit that 1,000-yard total in his true sophomore season, and then busted out for over 1,500 yards in his final collegiate season at USC. So we know that Ronald Jones can run the ball. And what have we heard coming out of the mouths of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this offseason is how much he's improved, how much he's working at taking the next step in his pass-catching role. He's bulked up from the 200 pounds that he was listed at in college to 225 pounds now in order to be able to command a better workload out of that backfield. Now, what Ronald Jones has in his way and in front of him is they did spend a third-round pick on Vanderbilt rookie Keyshawn Vaughn, he's a good running back. I think Keyshawn Vaughn is a good running back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Keyshawn Vaughn is like 2 years old in Ronald Jones. What's crazy is Ronald Jones is still 22 years old. He's only 22 years old. And what's crazy about Ronald Jones is he had over 1,000 combined rushing and receiving yards last year while not even going over 37% of his team's offensive snaps. So he was barely even utilized in that role. So we can only assume a step forward. Ronald Jones is not going away. And right now, he's being drafted as the RB32, 75th player overall, according to FFPC drafts. There are players like Raheem Mostert. There are players like Damian Williams, Mark Ingram. I mean, I am not taking Raheem Mostert or Damian Williams over Ronald Jones. There are a couple of other players who are being drafted ahead of him. Mark Ingram. I mean, I'm more concerned about J.K. Dobbins to Mark Ingram opposed to Keyshawn Vaughn to Ronald Jones. And while I did tout Dare Ogunbowale as somebody that you can target super late is an upside play, I said specifically in PPR formats as that third down role, Dare's not going to command any of the offensive touches running the ball out of the backfield. He is a threat to Ronald Jones in the pass-catching game. But when you're just talking about value, coming off of the board as the 32nd ranked running back, you can do a hell of a lot worse in redraft and in Dynasty than investing in a 22-year-old running back who did reach that 1,000-yard threshold total combined yards in his second season. A hell of a step forward for Ronald Jones, and we can only assume that he's only going to continue to get better. Ronald Jones is a player that I think can definitely hit that 1,000-yard threshold this year on the ground, and any improvement we see out of him in the passing game, even though 31 receptions is not something to laugh at, Ronald Jones is a player who could help us win, could be a consistent RB2 for us with given some of those RB1 upside type weeks from week to week in fantasy this season with Tom Brady there, with an improved offense, Rob Gronkowski. I mean, it's going to be a fun offense in Tampa, and they're going to have to account for the wide receivers and the tight ends. O.J. Howard, Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate, Adam Humphries and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. It's going to be a fun offense, and there's tons of room for potential, tons of room for growth for Ronald Jones. Just one of those players that you just don't dismiss Ronald Jones. Get the negative bias out of your head. Ronald Jones is set to smash in 2020. All right, so let's head to Buffalo, New York to talk about the Bills starting running back Devin Singletary, second-year player out of Florida Atlantic. Now, he is definitely a candidate for a breakout here in 2020. The backfield should be his. They lost Frank Gore. Yes, they did invest third-round draft capital in Zach Moss, the running back out of Utah, who should fill right into that Frank Gore role as that grinder running back. Don't see how he's going to be utilized in space the same way Devin Singletary is. And when you look at Singletary's rookie season, man, 151 carries, 775 yards, average 5.1 yards a carry, 41 targets, 29 receptions. I mean, that's pretty damn good for a rookie to command that type of workload, and a lot of that came towards the back half of the 2019 season. It just seemed like Buffalo continued to gain confidence in Devin Singletary and what he did at Florida Atlantic. He was a monster compiler. He was a player that was able to, despite his size at 5'7", 203, to really carry that ball out of the backfield in that workhorse type role. Now, Buffalo is not some high run pass volume offense. They are going to run the ball, whether that's Singletary and Zach Moss and then a combination of Josh Allen. What Buffalo did in the offseason that should definitely help Singletary and all the running backs in that backfield is they acquired Stephon Diggs, a true number one wide receiver, field stretching player to pair with John Brown. They've got the tight end Dawson Knox, talked about him a couple of shows ago. So the offense, as a byproduct of Stephon Diggs, gets better. running lanes become a little easier to see, to identify, to hit, and to open up for Devin Singletary. Singletary is the starting running back. Now, we always have to worry about, once they get to the goal line, do they bring in the bigger Zach Moss? Do they run Josh Allen? I mean, Josh Allen had, 8-9 rushing touchdowns last year. I think he's definitely due for regression this year in that department. But if we can see Singletary take another step forward, especially in that pass-catching role, I mean, 1,000-yard season from him should be a lock. I mean, he was damn near there as a rookie last year, sharing time with Frank Gore, and again, sharing time running the ball with Josh Allen. But Singletary is a talented running back. Right now, according to July FFPC data, he's being taken as the 48th player overall. A couple of running backs being drafted ahead of him: Melvin Gordon, Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, David Montgomery. There are a couple of those guys I prefer Devin Singletary to right off the bat, you know. David Johnson, everybody's talking about the volume is king. His ability to stay on the field should trump all of that, which we all know David Johnson lately has not shown an ability to do that. Le'Veon Bell, the Jets are just an absolute mess. Yes, volume should be there. It's a 3-down threat. But when you're talking about dynasty leagues, man, I'm not taking any of those guys over Devin Singletary. While Zach Moss may cannibalize some of his work out of the backfield, while Josh Allen may cannibalize some of the upside, especially from the goal line situations, you're talking about a talented running back who did show an ability to win in space, to pop off big plays, and to catch the ball in the backfield. And coming off of the board as the 48th best player, I think Devin Singletary is being a little bit slept on, and those people who are truly concerned about Zach Moss being there, those are the ones you can take advantage of in Dynasty when you're talking about trade assets. Go out there and acquire Devin Singletary. I think it is almost a guaranteed certainty that a breakout for this player in 2020 is inevitable. Devin Singletary, definitely a player to watch out for this season. All right, the next player that I want to talk about is somebody that quite a few people are pegging for a breakout this year, so nothing surprising, but it's worth talking about because of all the other things that have happened with this team this offseason. I feel like this is a player who's sort of been lost in the shuffle, forgotten about just a tad bit, and I'm talking about Denver Broncos tight end Noah Fant. Now, let's just rewind back and look at what type of player or what type of athlete Noah Fant is, which he's fucking ridiculous. When you look at his workout metrics over on Player Profile, I mean, it's just the bar, it's just 95 and up, right? It looks like a creative player on Madden. Best comparable to George Kittle. I mean, 4.5 40-yard dash, 98th percentile 40-yard dash score, 97th percentile speed score, 97th percentile burst score, 99th agility, catch radius, all that, 99th percentile, the 100th percentile. He's a creative player on Madden when you're talking about the athletic profile of Noah Fant. And what did he do in his rookie season? Well, he struggled quite a bit. I mean, he was not very good in his pass blocking. There were issues where he was dropping the damn ball over the place. It was not a pretty smooth season for the rookie tight end. But that's sort of the history of rookie tight ends, right? Rookie tight ends normally do not come in the league and do what Evan Ingram did as a rookie. George Kittle didn't do that as a rookie. Travis Kelce didn't do that as a rookie. Mark Andrews had a rookie season that really showed the potential and the flashes that he can make that next step. But it does not happen often. So I'm not going to knock Noah Fant for that. But what he did do when he did catch the ball and secure the grabs was show some of that elite athleticism and playmaking ability. He only had 66 targets on the season, but he made the most of those 66 targets, catching 40 passes for 562 yards, 14.1 yards per reception, and 3 touchdowns. And when you look at his yards per reception average, that ranked in the NFL second. So he was a downfield threat. Every time he caught the ball, he was ripping off explosive plays. And mind you, he was doing that with a young quarterback in Drew Lock. And before that, I don't know who the quarterback was. Was it Flacco? I truly can't remember who the fucking quarterback was. But Noah Fant had a lot of built-in reasons why there was inconsistent success during his rookie season. And then the NFL draft comes along, and then they take Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler and another tight end, and Albert Okwabunam. Albert O. They took Albert O. So they added all of these weapons. They bring in Melvin Gordon, and all everybody's talking about is Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton is going to be a top 10 wide receiver this year. Noah Fant is still commanding the seams of that offense. Noah Fant is nothing more than an oversized wide receiver. So he is not going anywhere. He is the starting tight end. And if Drew Lock takes the step forward that a lot of people think that he can take, a lot of people are pegging Drew Lock to make this big second-year leap, then Noah Fant is going to be a byproduct of those targets, those downfield throws, and he's going to be a beneficiary of increased production in 2020. Noah Fant, right now, according to FFPC, he's going after Hayden Hurst. He's being drafted after Austin Hooper, Mike Gesicki. I mean, right now, as tight end 15. So he's not even viewed as a tight end 2, according to FFPC drafts. And I think that for this 2020 season, Drew Lock is going to lean on that tight end. You know, Jerry Jeudy has not had minicamp and OTAs, and we don't know what training camp is going to look like. There's some familiarity and comfortability with Noah Fant, the tight end, and Drew Lock did show an ability in college to utilize his tight end. That's why we were so highly thought of. We were thinking highly of Albert O when they spent time at Missouri together. Noah Fant is a player that just I know that you're like, oh, man, I'm not sleeping on Noah Fant. People are sleeping on Noah Fant. Taking Hayden Hurst over Noah Fant is a mistake. That is not how you do it the right way. If you're talking about redraft, maybe, but Dynasty, there's no way on earth I'm taking Hayden Hurst over Noah Fant. You should not do that either. He's an athletic freak. He's in an offense that's going to throw the ball around more. And with those good wide receivers on the outside and even KJ Hamler in the slot, that will take some attention off of that tight end down the middle of the field. And we already saw him be productive in that role last year. Noah Fant is a player. I said breakout players. He could be a breakout star amongst this group of 5 that I'm talking about in the 2020 season, Noah Fant. Marquise Hollywood Brown is the next player up on the docket. Yes, he is poised for a breakout in 2020. This kid did not play the full season last year. He was coming off of a foot injury that he suffered towards the end of the season of his final year at Oklahoma, which kept him out of the college football playoffs. He tried to play, couldn't play. So he was already coming into the NFL, didn't participate at the combine, didn't do any pre-draft work, and was still the number 1 wide receiver taken in the 2019 draft class, despite being 5'9", 170 pounds. But Hollywood Brown, his first game with Baltimore versus Miami, I mean, he came out the gate screaming 2 long touchdown bombs. We know what Lamar Jackson did in 2019, winning the NFL MVP, taking that step forward as a passer, absolutely shredding and tearing up the NFL. And Marquise Brown was only a small part of that. In 2019, he was only targeted 71 times, caught the ball 46 times for 584 yards, 7 touchdowns, averaged 12.7 yards per reception. But what he did was show and display some of that home run ability. And when he was at Oklahoma, paired with Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, he was an absolute star. I mean, Marquise Brown is more than just a speed demon that only runs run route. He's not the biggest wide receiver. He's not going to be A.J. Brown tanking over defenders and skying over guys making incredible leaps. But when you talk about juice, ain't no denying Hollywood Brown's got it. Hollywood Brown, call him like his cousin, AB. Call him. I hope he isn't a knucklehead like AB, but Hollywood can get down the field. And when you're talking about, again, these players make steps, man. Mark Andrews is going to take a step forward. Lamar Jackson should take another step forward. They've got J.K. Dobbins in the backfield paired with Mark Ingrams now, which is an astronomical upgrade over Gus Edwards and whoever the hell else was back there trying to carry the ball. You've got Miles Boykin, who I almost talked about as one of those breakout candidates this year, but you've got him on one side and Hollywood Brown, and they drafted Devin Duvernay to command that slot. That's what he did at the University of Texas. So it really could be wheels up for Hollywood Brown. I mean, again, the draft capital is there. The familiarity with Lamar Jackson is there. His speed, the production that he had as a rookie, 7 TDs, over 500 yards in that first game. I mean, he showed that he can run all of the routes. He's only going to get better. I've seen videos of him training, and I mean, hell, everybody's training. But, you know, you would only hope that, and can only imagine and assume that he and Lamar are working well together, and that's going to be a dynamic duo. And when you've got that Konami code type quarterback with 2 very good running backs in Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins, you're not going to be able to focus on taking him away because you'll get your ass ripped up out of the backfield between one of those three rushers of the football and even throw Gus Edwards in there. So the opportunity can present itself and will present itself for Marquise Brown to thrive this year. And right now in FFPC drafts, Marquise Brown is coming off the board as the 72nd ranked player. He's right in between Devontae Parker and Michael Gallup. And I would take Hollywood Brown over both of those players. And in Dynasty, there are quite a few other guys that I would take him over. But he is poised for a big-time season here in 2020. Looking forward to watching Hollywood Brown score touchdowns with the Ravens, be dominant for his NFL team, and smash for us in fantasy. All right, the last player that I want to talk about plays for the newest team in the NFL, the Washington football team. That's right, that team in D.C., the Washington football team. Man, they had all this time, and that's what the fuck they came up with, the Washington football team. Anyway, neither here nor there. Steven Sims, FFPC, ain't nobody taking him in high-stake leagues, but in redraft and in dynasty leagues, you got to invest, and it doesn't cost you much in the 23-year-old player, the slot machine, the player who came on late during the 2019 season, Steven Sims. And I know he only had 310 yards on 34 receptions, so it's like, man, why are you so hyped up over that production? That's not much, but Kelvin Harmon, a lot of people were kind of had some high hopes for Kelvin Harmon this season. I'm one of those people, but he tore his ACL, so Kelvin Harmon's not going to play this year. So you've got Terry McLaurin on one side as the locked and loaded alpha. Name the tight end, and God, spare me Jeremy fucking Sprinkle. I don't even want to hear that. Thad Moss, disgusting byproduct of the LSU offense. Then you've got Antonio Gandy Golden, who a lot of people are starting to get a little bit of steam and hype for, but he played at Liberty, so there's definitely going to be a learning curve for Gandy Golden. He's not the same type of wide receiver that Steven Sims in. Trey Quinn, that experiment has failed miserably. Yeah, that's not going to be a thing. Steven Sims is locked and loaded a starting wide receiver for the Washington football team this fall. And when you look at what Sims did towards the end of the 2019 season, between weeks 11 and 17, he had the most targets on that team with 46, averaging 6.6 targets a game over that 7-game span. That was more than McLaurin, more than Kelvin Harmon, more than Sprinkle, more than Chris Thompson. Now, according to PFF, Sims was targeted just under 25% of his routes last season. So what that means, how does that translate to fantasy? That means he was getting open and he was getting the ball thrown to him. Steven Sims, you know, when you look at his measurables, it doesn't look like he should be as fast as he is. He didn't go out there and run some 4.34, 240-yard dash, but he knows how to get open. And when he gets open, Dwayne Haskins was delivering him the football. Again, over the final week 11 through week 17, he was the most targeted wide receiver on that team. And now you lose Kelvin Harmon, the absence of Chris Thompson, the devoid at tight end. Who else are they're going to be behind. I mean, I know they got Chase Young and the defense is going to be a little bit better from a pass rush perspective, but they ain't blowing anybody out. They're going to be behind. Ron Rivera is coming from a team where he did use multiple wide receivers. Steven Sims is going to be targeted, and Steven Sims is going late. I'm talking about super late. FFPC, like I said, nobody's even taking him. You can use all kinds of ADP. Steven Sims is going late. He cost you absolutely nothing. Like, if I had to put my stamp on any of these guys as breakout candidates here in the 2020 season, it would be Steven Sims. And the cost to acquire him, might as well take a shot. You can do a hell of a lot worse than investing in the number 2 wide receiver this upcoming 2020 season. So quick recap of 5 of my breakout candidates for the 2020 season. At running back, we've got Ronald Jones and Devin Singletary. At tight end, Noah Fant from the Denver Broncos. And the 2 wide receivers, Steven Sims and Marquise Hollywood Brown. That's it. That's the show. Hope you had fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope there was some actionable, entertaining shit in there to get you through your day. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, like the content, smash that subscribe button. Check out all my content on ftnfantasy.com. And if you want exclusive access to me in the best damn Devy Dynasty community in fantasy football, make sure you check out patreon.com/allgas. Join the All Gas Army, the squad, the movement. We're making things happen over there. Campus to Canton leagues, Devy startups, all kinds of crazy stuff over there with the squad. Appreciate you guys. When you sign up for FTN Fantasy, make sure you use promo code ALLGAS. But until next time, hustle, motivate. Catch you next week.